Hi y'all, I'm Rachel, a full-time beekeeper, and I am so excited to have you back on my channel today. We are talking money, honey, and bees. Now, this is a video that I've been really excited to put out because it's actually what launched my career into beekeeping. It's nukes. So I want to go over what the advantages are for having a nuke as a beginning beekeeper versus having a package of bees. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to start off by talking about why people say that package bees are better. I don't agree with this at all. I think that there is good intention, although it's not the whole picture. And once you put it into perspective and in context, it changes really what you're saying. So with the first one being, you get package bees sooner. Yes, that is true. You can get package bees several weeks to maybe even a month or two, depending on where you are, in advance. But what are those conditions in your area that you're not able to get nukes? Nukes are overwintered a lot of times. The very first ones that you're going to be getting in the spring are overwintered nucleus colonies. So they're going to be flourishing and going out to customers at the time that those colonies have been adjusted and are able to accommodate to the nectar flow, whatever pollen's coming in, and expanding in size. Now, there's artificial ways to boost a hive, sure, but overall, if you're going to be getting bees in your area, it's because your area can support them during that time versus you getting package bees, say a month or two in advance. It might still be freezing cold outside. You may still have snow. There's not going to be nectar flow. And I'm not saying that like you can't have those things. Like, sure, you might have a nectar flow. The snow might not be on the ground, but it's special care and attention that you're going to have to place on that group of packaged bees that you're placing into a hive and feed them extra, both pollen and sugar water. It's likely that that won't be available to them. So that's kind of the first thing that I'd like to address. Yes, it's true that you can get packaged bees sooner than nukes, but like, do you really want to? Another kind of strange one that I saw that I don't think that I understand really what this article was trying to say is that the bees in packages are easier for beginners to evaluate. I don't understand where that comes from at all. Maybe it's because you're starting from like literal scratch. So every little thing that happens in that hive after you put your package bees in, you get to see from the beginning. So like I understand conceptually how like that works, but it's more difficult. It's more difficult to get started with package bees because you literally just have the bees that you're starting with and nothing else. So yes, you might be able to evaluate them from, very beginning to end, but the success and likelihood of that happening is just significantly lower than it is with a nuke. So let's go backwards a little bit and talk about actually receiving your package and how that would look. So a lot of times you can get them ordered to you. A lot of these really large bee companies will ship package bees directly to your doorstep through the mail. And that sounds really enticing because it's like, okay, great. I don't have to like go and get the bees or drive with them in my car. And to be fair, you can pick up some packaged bees at certain places. That's not like totally unheard of. And I don't want to knock anybody. And all of this, let me kind of back up. All of this, I don't want to knock anybody who sells packaged bees or who has purchased them because people do have success. I just want to say why nukes are significantly better and the common problems that can arrive with packaged bees. So let's get back into it, talking about actually picking up your bees, if they're a package or if them getting shipped to you. The conditions in which packaged bees are kept in are a lot different. So it's going to be practically like a wooden frame with screen that's covering it, and that's kind of it. There's no real structure. They may have, sugar water or fondant. They're going to have, all the bees just kind of loosely in there, and that's a package of bees. That screen isn't really weather resistant. They're not going to have a lot of protection from the elements. So if it is cold, the bees are going to get cold. If it's hot, the bees are going to get hot. They don't have the ability to cool and heat the space like they otherwise would with something like a nuke or hive. But obviously the example we're using is between package bees and nukes. So, alternatively, we'll talk about nukes a little bit later on, but I just want to address that with packages. there's no ability for the bees to control that environment that they're in. So imagine what they're going through during the shipping process. I wouldn't want to be a package of bees. Bees are really self-sustainable, so they can arrive perfectly fine on your doorstep. But there is like 5 to 7 days that they're just in the U.S. Postal Service. If you're, I guess, listening from the U.S. and bees are shipped to you. If I haven't already said this, cost is something that's brought up often online as far as packaged bees go, saying that they're a lower expense. And sure, your price whenever you click through PayPal and purchase your bees might be lower than if you were purchasing a nuke. However, you have to consider what you're getting in that package of bees. We just talked about it. It's a wooden frame, screen, and bees. Like, yeah, you have your workers, drones, your queen. So you have a colony, but that is it. You have a colony and nothing else. Whereas with a nuke, and again, we're going to get into this, but you have already half of your hardware that you'll need for your hive. And the last one I saved for going over why people say packages are better that I'd like to address as a misconception is one that holds more validity, I feel like, than the others. The context, it makes some sense here. So people will say that it lowers the risk of disease and varroa mite count, and if you're getting a package versus getting a nuke. The reason that I would say that yes, that's partly true is because varroa will incubate inside of the comb, specifically on drone bees. They share a very similar incubation period or growth period. So they will go inside of the comb, but they are going to ultimately end up embedded on a bee. And that's like whenever you're doing, your bee wash to see what your varroa load is, it's on like active bees that are out and around in the hive. So it holds some validity because of the aspect that they won't be incubating inside of the comb, which brings me to my second part, which is the comb technically can carry pathogens and bacteria and disease. That's why there are laws and regulation about moving built comb across state lines. It's not likely that you're going to have a diseased colony or one that's heavily loaded up with varroa that is thriving. And when you get a nuke, it should be thriving. So to really recap that one, there is validity in, disease and varroa being a lower risk if you're getting packages, but I just don't think that risk is very high in the first place. Now for the exciting part, let's talk about why nukes are the bomb diggity and you should choose a nuke over a package. Nukes are a nucleus colony. So by definition, they are, self-sustainable inside of the container that they're placed inside of their nuke box. So you don't really need to worry if you accidentally get your bees a little too early, which by the way, they're available almost just as early as packages. So again, the point that we went over before of packages being, available earlier, it's just not significant enough that I feel like it really counts. But if they were both, in January 1st, your package bees have a very low likelihood of surviving, whereas a nuke as a full colony or half of a full colony already is ready to plug and play. Now we talked about package bees getting shipped. The alternative is going and picking your nukes up. They aren't shipped in the mail, so it might seem like a little bit more of a burden, but the beauty of it is you get to know exactly what time and what place you're going to pick up your bees. And a lot of time this will be at a bee farm, a bee apiary, so you can go to the place where your bees are literally from. And that's really exciting because you'll get to talk to the beekeepers sometimes who have actually raised these bees. But all in all, it's a much better and safer experience, I feel like, for the bees to get hand picked up in their nuke, placed in your passenger seat and head home versus, being in shipping limbo for 5 to 7 days. So we talked about how package bees are just really exposed to the elements, Well, the alternative with nukes are being in an enclosed box. Now, they will have some sort of ventilation, but they're not directly exposed to the elements. So, no wind or rain, heat or cooling. It's not going to affect them as much. And this is a huge, huge benefit, especially if the day of arrival of your bees, when you go and pick them up, if it's raining outside, you don't want to mess with bees in the rain. Trust me, been there, done that more than once, and it's not a pleasant experience. So if you can avoid that, that's best. And you can just, open up your nuke and let the bees go in and out at their own pace and find their way around, figure out where they are versus just slamming them into a box, which you wouldn't slam any bees into a box, like not even if you had a package, but that was a little bit exaggerated there. But you don't need to remove your bees forcefully or like tumping them over. They will be in their place already. So you can literally just open up your nuke box, let the bees explore, and then in a couple hours, go back and place them frame by frame, or in a couple of days. Again, using that example, like if it's raining or if it's a snowstorm, which would be weird in the spring, but I also live in Alabama, so I don't really have a lot of context for that. But my whole point is you don't have to move them right away. You have the flexibility to be able to move them when you want and please and as weather permits. So now for the nitty-gritty. Again, cost, I think, is the main one that people use as an advantage for packaged bees. But I alluded to it earlier that we were going to talk about the hardware that you would receive with a nuke package. So again, packaged bees being a frame and a screen and just bees. In your nuke, you will have frames, you will have foundation, you will have the box that they go in, and you're already money ahead with just those things. I think if we were to purchase frames and foundation right now, and then, if we have plastic, do the wax coating on it, or even if just anything. I think if we were to purchase the foundation and the frames right now, doing like a bulk order, I don't think that we could purchase them for cheaper than $2 a pop. So if you start to add up the little bit here and there of what you're getting, and then we talk about the comb, the pollen, the nectar / honey that you're going to have inside of there, it's a very, very clear winner that you are time and money ahead at this point. Now, the title of this video is Money, Honey, and Bees. Let's talk about the bees. If you're going ahead and getting a nuke, it is going to have all of the stages from egg to larva, pupa. You're just going to have all the stages of bees that a colony normally would have, again, as a nucleus colony. You're going to be time ahead on that because it will take 21 days at best if you have, no. Now let me think this through. At best, if your packaged bees were to go onto their foundation, draw comb, and then a queen was going to lay an egg, from that egg being laid, it is 21 days to have another worker bee. And that doesn't include the time for the bees to prep and prepare comb. Now that can be relatively quick. I have seen swarms do some amazing work really fast. But again, you are well time ahead to have a nuke that already has the eggs, larva, and pupa and everything in it, and keep that colony sustaining and going versus having to wait for anything to happen with packaged bees. I kind of blended my last 2 points together, but what I didn't mention was how the queen and the workers in that colony are going to be all related. They are a functioning colony. So there is no need to introduce your queen, pull the candy plug, or worry about the candy plug or cork getting accidentally bumped out or chewed through on transit. Again, with packaged bees, you have the ability to literally have a functioning colony and them working together upon arrival at your property, on your apiary, in your hive. And that is worth so much that you don't have to worry about potentially going and getting another queen. If you're a new beekeeper And I know this because we have had new beekeepers, panic call us that they need a new queen for some reason. And that'll be oftentimes because their colony will swarm, or the queen that they had that was in her little cage died, or the bees, didn't accept her. So you don't want that to happen to you. If your colony is already integrated together and they are related, you're not going to have that issue. So I do think that is a very, very important one that people don't think about or talk about as often. I almost forgot to mention this one. So whenever a nuke arrives on your property, again, we've talked about how they'll have, all the parts that they need. They'll have comb, bees, pollen, nectar, and honey already collected. They are going to be geared up and ready to collect honey day one. Now, they're going to do a lot more building out from whenever you expand them into their larger hive, whether it be an 8 or a 10 frame hive. I know there's different styles too, but they'll be geared up, ready to go. And there's not going to be, again, a break in that life cycle of bees because you don't have to wait those extra 21 days. They're going to be out foraging for nectar and storing that away as honey so you can get started on your honey harvest even sooner than you'd ever be able to dream with package bees. So with all of that, as an experienced beekeeper, that's why I would suggest and why I prefer nukes over packages. You're up money, honey, and bees in the end. Thank you so much for joining me. If you got any value from this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm really excited to see this channel grow. I've seen a lot of love on my past 2 videos. So thank you for that. I really, from the bottom of my heart, really appreciate it. It is super exciting to see, the comments and the likes roll in. So again, thank you. And don't forget, in a world where you can be anything, y'all be kind. Hi, y'all. Hi, y'all. Hi, hi. Ooh.